A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
I like that you leaned into the mic to count it down.
So
Can
when
you
we
hear me out there? Can you hear me?
So a little behind the scenes, A is for Alcoholic podcast. Welcome. We do our little countdown so I can sync up our audio. Obviously, those of you who know that we don't record in the same room, which I guess you can also hear by the echo on Jerry's voice currently and the no echo in my voice. But what I sometimes like to do is I will kind of try to listen and then memorize our countdown,
Right.
so that I can feel it when I plug it back in. And I know that's probably too much, but sometimes we speed up and slow down. And so it's like, so I'm really, actually in that moment, Jerry, I'm trying to be as present as I possibly can with you.
Psychically connecting over the airwaves. They're not even airwaves. It's like digital farts
just
through a wire.
Digital farts through a wire.
Yeah.
What's that song? Like clams in a shell?
I don't know. Digital farts in a wire like clams in a shell?
No, it's like catching something in a shell. It's like Squeeze, that band Squeeze.
Uh-huh.
Like something in a shell.
No, I know. Tempted by the fruit of a nut. That's what it's like. We're getting tempted in our countdown by each other's fruit. Boozing it up. That's what's been in my head all morning. I've been walking around the house going, boozing it up.
Boozing it up.
So my wife,
it up.
I know we got to start the pod, but my wife was drinking. She had like a vodka drink right after a long day of packing. She made herself like some clear American club soda, has flavor, strawberry flavor, mix that with some vodka and put a bunch of frozen blueberries in it. Cause I'm trying to get through all my frozen fruit because we leave in 5 days. So I gotta, I'm packing all my shit. And so she put a bunch of frozen blueberries in it, and she's like sitting on the couch. She has her vodka drink or whatever, and then she's like eating the blueberries out of it. And the dog is between us, and not even thinking, she just feeds the dog a blueberry because he like loves frozen blueberries. And I'm like, yo, did you just feed the dog a vodka blueberry? And she's like, oh shit. And I did. I had this weird moment where I was like, man, vodka blueberry, that wouldn't be bad. And then my brain, I was like, shut up, dude. What do you mean that wouldn't be bad? And I had to like go down the list. Not that I was going to be like, yo, Megan, hit me up with a vodka blueberry. Let's see what happens. But there was like that temptation in there first. It wasn't temptation is the wrong word. It was musing. Like my mind mused over it again. And I was like, dang, dude, I need to probably hit a Zoom meeting or read some more fucking AA memes on Instagram or something.
You literally were tempted by the fruit of another.
I was tempted by the fruit, right? That's my segue. But I was thinking of the Boozing It Up song because of the Bee Gees, talking it up, boozing it up. But I don't know. It's that time of year, everybody.
I often would sing, how deep is your love? But
yeah.
I would sing, how deep is your butt? How deep is, not to anyone in particular, but it was just kind of like
your mantra, right? And you're like, well, how deep is it? Let's bring physics into this and science.
I mean, if I, getting in on the health kick, high colonics might be the next thing, Jerry.
Oh my God, dude. I've been listening to spirituality podcasts, and I've listened to a few of them now. And sometimes I have to turn it off because they get a little too egghead on me. Like they get a little too smart. They're funny and they laugh, but then they get really deep into it. And I'm just seeing it everywhere now. You're talking about that high colonic shit. And then I have a friend on Instagram who just shared some conspirituality bro shit, some JP Spears, don't be afraid, and your vibrations and fear and all this stuff. And I was like, that's gross. And I wanted to write him and be like, don't do that, dude. You're like, these dudes are all grifters. But what, I'm going to change his mind? No. He's going to be like, Wagner, mind your own business. Post your weird naked Mario Brothers pictures.
I've seen that one before. I love that one. That's some old school shit, right?
Follow me on my Instagram. Get to my stories. Well, the December, whatever today is. December 12th.
That's why I 13th. Like the ones that I really like. I put in the highlights so that I can go back.
Yeah.
Like I say, make me laugh.
My Mario in a G-string in my highlights. My mom always writes me. She's like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah, my mom's not on Instagram. I tried to get my mom on Instagram, and she's like, I don't know. I was like, because I'm just kind of done with Facebook, and everything is just filtered there. Yeah. And she says, well, I guess if David Attenborough can do it.
Right. Yeah, dude. I'm even almost. I only am stuck with Instagram because of work. That's it. And I've said that in this podcast a billion times. But I can already see like the Facebook bleeding into Instagram, where
Mm.
I'll follow some pretty political people, that are obviously in my bubble. I'm not going to follow fucking Ben Shapiro, but even the people in my bubble get on my nerves sometimes. I'm like, yo, y'all need to relax, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
starts working
I
me.
think so. This conspirituality podcast, which I find really fascinating, and these
It's
guys,
very
like you
fascinating.
said, they're
Mhm.
extraordinarily eggheady, like
Mhm.
super smart. And they really break down a lot of what the shit that's going on, and
Yes.
how the wellness community has been co-opted by people who are trying to sell us shit, and
Mhm.
also by all the conspiritual people, the conspiracy
Yeah,
theories.
coin that term.
And when you talk about like vibrations and stuff like that, I'm really don't understand why it needs to be. And again, this is, I think, why is that it's a fucking grift. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be one or the other. There's no reason why I can't understand that I am energy, and that when I move or think or exist at a higher level, a higher power, whatever,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
life isn't better. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get a vaccine, because vaccines work, and the world as we know it today is here because of vaccines, and
Well,
all of
yeah.
the people who denounce them are here because of vaccines and are healthy. And fucking, I don't go look at pictures of kids in iron lungs, and
Well, yeah, dude. There's
and
no way that science and spirituality can't coexist and overlap. I don't see why they can't.
no, I don't think so either. And and I don't know if that's going to turn anybody off. And I guess,
Right. Our whole
ultimately,
podcast today is about vaccines. Let's do it.
and so, like, I don't care what, I mean, I really don't care what other people do. And I can only speak for myself, right? And my experience as an alcoholic, fucking dealing with shit and trying to understand the post-truth reality and the
Mhm.
misinformation and blah
Right.
blah blah, and how the social
Mhm.
media experiment has gone off the rails, and we've only been doing this for like 12, 15 years, and we don't fucking
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
Nope.
So um all of that to say that I think that everybody needs to be safe and be well, and
Yeah. Hmm.
um if anything,
Please.
I think my training my training, like I'm a fucking Jedi, my
You
training
are
as an
sober
alcoholic
Jedi.
has taught me not only to question my own motives and my own ways of thinking, because they've gotten me in so much trouble, right? And my own,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
the confirmation bias that alcohol is good for me, right? And the confirmation bias that, I'll be fine if I just can get another drink.
Hmm.
And all those things are like, hey, that's not right, man. And the notion that one of the notions is that I have to trust, right? So if I trust, and that was the only way that I got sober and stayed sober, was when I talked to my sponsor and was like, he's like, you're gonna have to trust me, John.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to.
I remember you texted me and you were like, dude, this guy wants me to write down all my fucking transgressions as a
Mhm.
4th step, and then he wants me to read it to him. But I'm not comfortable reading it to him. And he says if I don't read it to him, he won't sponsor me. Is that weird? And I'm like, it is not really weird, but it's definitely part of the thing. Like you had a lot of mistrust. So did I. I had a ton in the beginning.
Huge.
Huge.
And so the notion that I've come to find is that if I'm going to trust my higher power, um, then I have to trust that the things that are happening in the universe and in the world, that my life is not this like epic battle against the evil.
No.
You
It's
know what I mean?
not, dude.
It's
We're all the
not.
NPCs, and people need to realize that, dude.
So
Everybody, there's no main character. We're all just NPCs.
yeah.
You play Skyrim, you've been to the Cloud District, you look like you haven't been to the Cloud District. That's like me. My
So
Skyrim heads will get that. That's a deep cut. That's not even that deep of a cut.
I
Anyway,
played Skyrim once
love Skyrim.
or twice. I think I downloaded it
One of
and then
my
I wanted to play
favorites.
something else and I took it off the PlayStation.
It's got me thinking though, right? All of this stuff is that I think a lot of our problem thought, and not just as alcoholics, but humans in general, is that we tend to think in binaries, right? It either is or isn't. And I can only really think of one real binary that doesn't count as a binary. Do you know what I mean? And that one is drinking and not drinking. That's the only one in my life. Because even then, is it sober or not sober? Because you can go into the whole fucking gradation of that. Like, what is sober, right? Even dead and alive aren't really necessarily binaries, because you can float in the middle space and be brain dead but body alive, or body alive. You know what I mean? Or, heart dead but brain alive. There's always dusk. There's always dusk. There will always be a transition in the middle time.
The phrase, the word you're looking for is crepuscular, Jerry. Crepuscular,
right? But there is. Thanks a lot, D.H. Lawrence.
You got it. So the letter today, and I wanted to, and not that I love this idea
we were gonna loop around to the
transition.
Letter, so.
Well, it doesn't. There's no real transition. To be heard of right now.
Quarantine. We're in lockdown. There's nothing. There's no rules, man. Points don't count. Whose line is it anyway?
And everybody's winning.
Yeah, everybody's winning.
Well, I wanted to originally, the idea was to have some sort of Christmas issue, and I wanted to talk about what I wanted it to be was Y is for the Yuletide Perils,
right,
of Christmas drinking, and so we're not really doing that many parties, although some people are probably fucking parties.
Don't.
And but it just, as far as being able to say no and being able to say thank you and being able to navigate your way and the stuff that we have discussed multiple times, but I think it bears repeating on this time of year, especially if somebody's just coming across this for the first time. But I love when you bring up the idea of it being there's only one binary, because I've spent all of my life, or most of my life, in this sort of muddled, weird, murky morality of fucking drinking. And like everything was motivated by this, like, basically this fucking golem that lived inside of me. Like
Christmas golem.
The Christmas golem. And I've said this, we've talked about this. I had my epic poem was called The Christmas Laundry, which was about me pissing the bed on Christmas Day.
You weren't even trying to write it in iambic pentameter. There was nothing complex. You just didn't know how to finish a poem about you peeing your pants or peeing your bed and then washing the sheets in the laundry room on Christmas Day.
So that was the thing, is that it was like Christmas of 2004 and the Christmas Eve, and got so drunk. And I still, do you have times in your life where you kind of just remember the feeling of like a place where you lived, or like just there's like this sort of, for lack of a better word, the smell of it, the vibe.
Absolutely.
But there was this vibe in that apartment on Nickerson, and I know you were there a few times, so you know it. But I just remember like getting so drunk in that apartment, and then waking up and pissing myself, and I was still drunk. So I'm like doing the laundry and thinking it's funny, and I write this poem called Christmas Laundry, and I found one. I was digging around an old WordPress blog of mine, and I found like Christmas Laundry Part 2. And
the Electric Boogaloo, but not the conspiracy group. Yeah. Just starting the Civil War by pissing your bed.
Basically. So it's like, what did I mean, obviously I've learned a lot since then, but I don't know where this is going, except to say that I wanted to share a few things about Christmas parties, which we're not having.
No, we're not having.
Dealing with family, I had a conversation with an old friend last night that I hadn't talked to in a very long time. And she said something to the effect of like, oh, well, I'm just a little, something about being a little tipsy, and I don't usually drink this much vodka, and I'm just drinking some vodka. And then she stopped herself and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, for what? And she was just being sensitive to the fact that she's like, I can't believe that you've been sober for 5 years, and that's so impressive, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know her life, so I don't know. And when somebody says to me, I'm just drinking vodka, or I don't usually drink this much, or sobriety is really impressive, I'm like, I'm kind of searching for Maybe I'm projecting that I'm searching for a nugget of them wanting to be sober too. I don't know. But it was fine. And it brought up the conversation about what was okay and what was not. And I said, you're more than welcome to drink as much as you'd like. I promise you I will let you know when I'm getting off the phone. If it's
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is not, it wasn't a trigger for you.
It was not a trigger.
And this person was concerned that it was a trigger.
She was concerned that it was a trigger. Excuse me. And then when I, told her that it wasn't, and that also she's like, please tell me. And I said, yeah, I've had friends in the past and I've been that person where, they'll start repeating themselves and they'll just go on. And I'm like, dude, this person's wasted. It's time for me to hang up. And I usually just say goodbye. And I don't really go too much into it. And I'm just like, all right, man, have a good night, buddy. I love you. And then hang up because they're not going to remember.
No.
So, I think maybe in this time that maybe on a Zoom call, if you're having a Christmas Zoom call and it's like time to fucking go, because I've only been to one of these parties that was like a Google Hangout, like where there's like 9 or 10 people all on a Zoom and they're like having fun and playing games. And they were like, well, this was pretty early on in the pandemic.
Right. When everybody was still thought it would only last 4 weeks.
Right. Exactly. And
you fucking idiots.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
I'm
one of them. But, I'm one of them.
Yeah. And so there was like these games and they were playing these little trivia games and it was genuinely kind of fun for a little while. And then, you see people are drinking and things are getting sloppy and there's too many people talking. If anyone's ever been in a Zoom meeting and they don't have somebody who's regulating the mute button, then it's a fucking mess. So I think it's fine to just go to set those boundaries in sobriety and say, oh, okay, we got to go. Oh, I know. And I don't have to say goodbye to every single person. All right, everybody, goodbye, click, end meeting, leave meeting, whatever.
That's way easier than being out in the physical world, I think.
Sure.
My mom and dad used to always, my mom and dad have been sober forever, for decades and decades. And they have gone to tons of family functions. And there are members of my family that love to drink because I drank with them. And my parents always say, well, I'm like, how do you even deal with that? Do you feel triggered? And my dad always says, nah, I don't feel triggered. He's like, we always leave before people start repeating themselves. He's like, you can see it in their eyes. As soon as they start getting glassy, it's time to go home. Besides, there's nothing there for me anyway,
Right.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that till I got old, till I got sober, actually. But I only do Zoom calls with my family anyway, so nobody's really drinking. My little brother drinks, but he doesn't get drunk. Like, usually he's just high as fuck.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Just tease them. Like, you high right now? You freaking out? But other than that, everybody is pretty mellow. Like all my, dude, it's either AA meetings or my family.
Yeah.
And that one Zoom call I had with you in the group where like Danny's girlfriend was watching like Gilmore Girls way too fucking loud.
Yeah. It's like either go in another room or something. Like there's definitely this sort of thing that happens too where people are not used to, like they have this sort of spatial unawareness about what's going on.
Because it was like Coda when we did that. Dude,
yeah, go ahead.
He's so used to fucking Gilmore Girls in his house loud as fuck. He's just like, yeah. It's like Coda, we did the pod and he was watching like Airwolf or something super loud in the background. Yeah. You're like, hey, can you turn that down? He's like, oh shit, sorry, I was watching Airwolf or whatever it was.
It was Mad Max, but yeah.
Mad Max. That
might as well have been Airwolf.
I can see Coda watching Airwolf, dude, and being stoked.
So I think that there's still some stuff to be said. There's still people who are spending Christmas with their families, and maybe their families drink, and maybe it's not that you're sober, maybe you just don't want to fucking drink, and maybe you've been drinking all year.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Lockdown, yeah.
Is that's terrifying to me. Is that all of I've read a couple of these studies and these articles about how much people have been drinking because they're just at home alone, and it's awful. And maybe you just don't want to drink. And I think if ever there's a time, it's now to say no, thank you, and go to your room.
Right. Yeah, even if you're not sober, you're just like, man, I'm tired of drinking all the time. I feel like shit. I'm just gonna take a break tonight.
Yeah.
Like shit, just sitting in the house drunk all the time. I mean, I used to do it. I can't imagine it now. I can't imagine doing it in quarantine. Like you'd have to keep leaving to go get more booze. I guess unless you got the booze hookup where they bring it out to your car. I imagine that's around too. But yeah, the amount of people right now that are just getting loaded and then feeling sad and alone and loaded, man, I couldn't fuck with that anymore. I already feel sad about shit. I can't add loaded to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, dude, you know. It's affected us all, dude. And then yeah, during the holidays, it's weird, man, because this is obviously a very different holiday. This is not going to be, you know, I would hope for most people, this isn't going to be a huge gathering around your family and everybody's getting loaded on, you know. You know what I think of? I'm glad we're doing the holiday one though. I found Brain Candy. We both mentioned it, but I found it on YouTube.
The movie,
like the whole movie. Yeah,
you didn't find actual Brain Candy. The movie.
No, and they're doing the happiest memories when the medication first works, and it's that woman and her son comes home for Christmas, and he goes, "You got any eggnog, Ma?" And he like pours a bunch of fucking whiskey into the eggnog. Yeah, and I just was thinking about that Christmas, and the kids are just like, "You got me this last year," and then they throw a little present on top of the turkey, and she's like, "My, what could this be? It's so small." And the wife's like, "It's a harmonica," and then walks out, and they gave this old lady a fucking harmonica. Like that movie never fails to make me fucking laugh every time. But I remember that Christmas thing of the eggnog and the bourbon and you know, and the fucking Christmas lights and all that, you know, all of it. I don't even drink straight eggnog anymore without boozing it because it's so fucking high in calories. I'd get a little sip, a little thimbleful. I'm like, this is good. I'd rather burn my calories on ham. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Tamales,
I do.
You know?
I mean, I wouldn't fuck with eggnog or ham, but well, Brain Candy's great, and I got to see it in the theaters when it came out in 1996.
I'm so jealous of you, man. I would have loved to see it in the theaters.
And I'll tell you this, my buddy Rick and I, when I lived in Ventura, California, and I recently reconnected with Rick, and it's fucking awesome, and we all worked at Blockbuster Video together, me and him and another guy named Tom. You may have met these people in some random.
I think Rick came up once and partied with us.
Yeah, in Eugene.
Yeah.
And so he had a VW Bug, and he had a white Bug, and so we got in the white Bug, and we drove down to Los Angeles, and we went to Mann's Chinese Theater, and we got to see Brain Candy. I don't know if it was opening night. I don't think so, but it was super awesome. And then so we went and saw the movie, and it was totally hilarious. Although I think my expectations were much higher, and I feel like I love it more now than I did then.
Oh yeah, it's one of those. Yeah.
But I remember he couldn't get the car to start, and we had to pop the clutch. I didn't know anything about cars, but like,
you
pop the clutch and you put it in second, and we had to have this guy help us push it down this hill to get it to start, just to get the fuck home.
Yeah, dude.
So it was an awesome memory around that movie.
Yeah.
And no, that's all. That's all about that.
That whole show and their approach to alcoholism and drinking, because I started watching a bunch of the sketches on YouTube, is pretty insane. I think some of those guys had alcoholic fathers, because there was the one with the alcoholic father ritual where the kid turned 13, the dad, Bruce McCullough, drives him out to a rock in the middle of the forest. And he's like, I did it when I was 13 and you're going to do it. You're going to watch your old man get drunk. And he drinks the whole fucking bottle of booze. And he was just like, I broke my hand punching a pineapple. Didn't even care. You know, like some of the lines that are so fucking funny. But then he gets so wasted, he throws the kid the keys, and he's like, get the fuck out of here. And the kid has to drive his little 13-year-old ass home. But just there is like some drunk dad shit going. There was a lot of alcoholism. There was another one I saw where Dave gets addicted to girly drinks and becomes an alcoholic off of girly drinks.
Drunk.
Elaborate fucking, ritual to get loaded every time,
Yeah, and he ends up like he's in the fucking storage closet with a blender, because he can't just drink. It's not like drinking pints of vodka. He's like got to make umbrellas and fruity drinks, but it really does go into the ritual that we all have.
We all have to at least start with, the
extent to which we get hooked on what we absolutely have to have and what makes the perfect drunk, right? Like, what's it gonna be? And even near the end for me, it was like, I'm gonna get that bottle of vodka, and then I think, you know what? I think I'm gonna try that different. There's like this raspberry wheat beer, and I think that would be fun to chase with the vodka. And I would have these like little moments like I would get excited before I even. It was like this little thing, like, ooh, I'm gonna try something different, and it's gonna be fun. And then I would get it home, pull it out of the black plastic bag that, the only other place I ever got, though, this was at the fucking porno shop, at
Box
1
of
o'clock in the
Whippets,
morning
a
drunk.
threes
Box
of
of Whippets.
DVD. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And a bottle of Tito's.
Exactly. That, and whatever, but it just reminded me of that. And I would get home and I would just get fucking drunk and I would smoke cigarettes and I would just sit on that couch and do nothing. And it wasn't anything special. And there was nothing special about that particular pear cider or that particular honey wheat beer. You know what I mean? But it was like this little, I would get so excited.
We were like fucking alchemists. You know what I mean? Like we were trying to find the perfect mixture to make that perfect gold, that perfect drunk that you had once. I had the perfect drunk like once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And it never repeated. And it never will. It never would and it never will. And I remember going to the liquor store and one of my roommates worked there at the liquor store. I was buying a bottle of bourbon and he's like, you come in here every day and you buy a fifth of bourbon. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, you're an alcoholic. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, why are you an alcoholic? And I was like, dude, the only way I can think about explain it to you is in the weirdest fucking metaphor ever. It's like this complex thing where my brain works where I'm like on the runner of a car. I'm like on the sideboard of a truck. And I jump off the truck into a manhole lid and I make it perfect that first time. And then every single time after that, I try to do the exact same trick and fuck myself up. I know I've said this metaphor before, but that's the only way I can think of it is like pulling this 1 in 1,000 perfect trick and trying to do it every time and hitting my head on the street, hitting my shoulder on the corner of the manhole, fucking myself up every time, but getting up the next day and trying it again. I never got it again. I got it twice. It was fuck that. It was so elusive. I was this damn alchemist.
Well, and the difference is like, say you're trying to learn a skateboard trick, right? And but you learn what not to do the next time.
Right.
And so, and the difference is as an alcoholic, my tolerance goes up, like my body chemistry is all different. Like it's fucking complicated, weird
thing. The stakes rise each time. Yeah.
But you're like, why? Because I found that perfect moment, but you don't learn anything, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
yes, like, dude, you don't. That's great. That's profound. You don't learn shit.
You don't learn shit. I didn't learn how to be a better drunk. I just got worse and worse and worse.
And fucked your body up worse the entire time too.
And even going back, like why was I an alcoholic? And so, I've stemmed this to a lot of the shit that happened in my childhood. And I think it's probably coupled with something that's intrinsically in me as far as, tasting it, and going like, ooh, yeah, that makes me that excited, that tingly, that anticipatory feel of that first drink where I'm fucking just elated and I'm almost turned on, sexually.
Yeah, exactly. Have you found anything to replace that? And is it healthy to even try to replace that feeling? I feel like sometimes that urge, that anticipatory thing is unhealthy. That's the addict, right? Like I would assume that's the addict part of my brain or me. Me acting in my addictive way is that anticipatory elation and bliss and this edging, it's gonna happen, and then there's no payoff, dude. It's just a puff and a fart, it's nothing. That's two fart jokes.
Orgasms, I think sometimes can.
But same thing though, right? I mean, you can get like really addicted to that as well. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but
sure.
What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was right there too. I had that feeling, but my brain trying to find the word. But I feel like that might be unhealthy as well. Like that thought process of anticipatory, that overwhelming anticipatory thing, trying to chase it. Because I asked you earlier, I was like, have you found anything that comes close? And I haven't, but also I know that that's like, to me, that's a negative thing to have that. I don't want to be gray. I don't want to be gray cotton all the time. I don't want to find this middle space. I want to have highs and lows. I want those things, but to try to chase those things is what starts it off, starts that ball rolling again, That's why I haven't really looked for it. I guess running, there were a couple times I got pretty good runner's high.
Yeah.
Man, I had a shit run the other day, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean that's gonna happen. You're gonna have a shit day. You're gonna have you're gonna have shitty days and shitty nights, and your shoelaces is gonna break, and you're not gonna get what you want, and you're gonna lose your library card, and or, what I don't know.
You're like, damn, I really want to Count of Monte Cristo, son of a bitch. Dude, I got this Fitbit for Christmas, right? Like I bought myself a Fitbit, the Charge 4, right? Super excited. It's just a nicer device, nicer tracking device. And it's got an internal GPS. So instead of relying on the phone's GPS to talk to the device, it talks to itself. But the internal GPS it was faulty. It was defective. So it wasn't tracking my entire run. So I was losing the love of the run and being more caught up in the fact that it was cutting out the first half mile of the run. And even on the device itself. So I'd look down and go, okay, this is how much more I have left to go. And it was being short by a half a mile. And so it all kind of culminated in one day. We had the worst fucking day ever about 3 days ago.
Okay,
right?
So I want to hear about this. I want everyone to listen. Because he just said he had the worst fucking day ever. That is in the world. So I want to know what exactly, just so that we can get the perspective of what the worst day ever is.
Oh, geez. Go ahead. Yeah, no pressure. Right. So this Fitbit thing, I have a fucking utter meltdown because the Fitbit's not working. It's not tracking. It's pissing me off. I'm about to go on this run. I'm super excited to run, but I want to be accurate in tracking it because I like to look at the stats afterwards.
Right.
And convenience, right? So I'm telling Megan, let's trade out Fitbits because I gave her my old one. And I'm having like a mental meltdown at this point because I'm slowly throughout the day, throughout the morning, I've been like building up to this frustration. So I go out and I do the run and I'm mad the whole time. I'm furious because the Fitbit's not working. It keeps it's defective. It's not working. So the run is shot. I do the 5 miles, but I do it angry and I'm tense and tight. So everything hurts, I come home. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to return it. So I go through the process of returning it. And then my wife and I are talking and I'm like, hey, this is stupid. I need a new vape, right? I need a new device because the other one doesn't last as long. So if I have two, I can kind of flip out constantly, like flip them out, like, rotate them. So you go and buy the device, come back. Device is faulty, defective, doesn't work. Plug it in, not working. So I have to drive all the way back down there in the pandemic, return it. I don't go inside though. They do curbside, right? So the guy brings it out. So
curbside vape.
Curbside vape pickup, dog. That should be my new fucking t-shirt. But so we flip this thing out. Everything, there's just mild tension throughout the day, right? Because these devices I'm having are all falling apart. I'm wondering if I have some weird vibration, conspirituality, static electricity fucking my shit up. It's shorting everything out. So fine, whatever. Everything is fine. We've Jerry, the giant fucking baby, has been calmed. My colic is gone. And so at the end of the night, my daughter is fucking with the dog and he's like between the door and the wall. Like my wife had opened up the door and so there was a crack in the wall and he's in there fucking around and she's poking at him with her foot. Oh, yeah, because earlier we had bought all of the Happy Meal from McDonald's. I give her the Happy Meal in her room. She's so engrossed in her iPad, just doesn't pay attention to the Happy Meal. Dog gets up on the dresser where I put the food, eats the entire fucking Happy Meal. Fuck that, right? Like, you weren't watching, you slept, right?
Don't sleep on that Happy Meal.
The dog, because I'm like, yo, you can't be eating our food. That's people food. You cannot have our food. You don't eat what we eat, right? So I'm already mad at him. So he's in the corner looking for an errant fry. My daughter's poking him with her foot, and he fucking bites her on the leg, like aggressively, like, rah! Turns around, bites her, right? Doesn't break the skin, and just catches her with his teeth. There's no puncture, but he catches her with his teeth enough to leave a pinch, like a bruise. He scratched her with his tooth, right? And so I'm like, because she's like crying. She's 10, so she doesn't scream when she cries. She has big fat tears, right? So I walk in, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And Megan, of course, recants the tale. The dog bit the kid. And I just start screaming at the fucking dog because I'm like, how dare you bite my fucking kid, you motherfucker? Like the protective part of me, right? I didn't hit the dog. I would never hit the dog. I love the dog. But I screamed out, what the fuck have you done? Screamed it in the entire house. Everybody's like, what the hell's wrong with you, right? Megan puts him in his kennel for a minute and tries to calm us all down. And that was like the culmination of my day. I just like laid there in bed and my wife was like, listen, we've all had a hard fucking day. Olive will be fine. She was poking at the, like, cause I was like, what do we do with the dog? Like, I don't want to,
like it's tasted blood. We have to,
you got to put him down. Right. Yeah. because I don't want this dog to be biting my kid. Like, I love my kid more than the dog. I love the dog, but you bite my kid, I'm gonna put you on the fucking moon. You know what I mean? It was a weird day, man. So that was the worst day ever. That being said, was not the worst day ever in my life. That was just the worst day ever this month, you know?
Yes. So, I mean, I think that
was a long story. But
no, I only wanted to kind of, play it up because it's probably not that bad in the grand scheme of things, right?
Did I piss my bed? No. Did I wake up outside with one sock on and no pants? No. Did I fucking cry myself to sleep in my backyard in a blackout? No. Did I think about suicide? No. I didn't think about killing myself once. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't end up in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. I didn't break my hand. I didn't break my leg.
And these are certainly low bars, but they are such a
some of that shit is most of that shit happened to me though. Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say in active alcoholism, like these seem to normal people, they seem like low bars, right? Like I didn't think about suicide today. You're like, oh my God, what a fucking relief. I didn't think about suicide today.
My fucking companion during active alcoholism, suicidal ideation was my companion.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's like, what a blessing that day was.
Right, exactly. Because the worst part was I screamed at the dog and thought about throwing $100 Fitbit in the river, and I didn't throw the Fitbit in the river.
Are you going to be living near a river in Arizona, or will you just be throwing things? I was going to say, there's like the Rio Grande.
Yeah, no, there's no Rio Grande. There's the Santa Cruz River, which runs during monsoon, but due to climate change, we don't really have a lot of monsoon, or they don't have a lot of monsoon down there as much as they used to.
So you'll just be angrily throwing things into the desert?
Sand, at a snake, throwing it at a javelina. Take this fucking Fitbit Charge 4. I was mad. I wanted to write them a review and be like, screw you. I like your products, but this one was hot garbage. It's defective. Can't find any help on the internet. But I just returned it. Right. And then that was it. A guy from UPS came and I put a box on the porch and he came and picked it up. So that was my worst day ever this month. Not in my life. Not in my life. I know earlier I told you, and I don't mean to take up all the time on this, but earlier I had told you, yo, dude, this fucking pandemic sucks. This lockdown sucks, but it's not as bad as my worst day drinking, right? Or not as bad as my rock bottom in 2014. And I had doubted that after I said it. I was like, I don't know, this has sucked pretty bad. You've been pretty depressed a few times and had a couple blowouts, but no, dude. No,
it's not.
No. Still not.
I'm just, I love
we'll test it tomorrow.
I always enjoy your storytelling ability when you're like, especially when you're angry about something, because you tend to hyperbolize things too. You're and then I went in and my wife recanted the tale. And
right.
She recanted the tale of the Happy Meal, the Happy Meal, and the Happy Meal, and the fucking bite on the foot, and like. So there's all, but we all live with these little dramas, right? These things that are so huge in our own lives, and of course it's important, and it was happening, and you have to deal with the dog and your kid and your wife and when a 10-year-old loses a Happy Meal to a hungry dog, like that's a sad fucking angry moment.
She was not even mad. She was like, "Oh well, that's the breaks." I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean that's the breaks?"
I bought you that Happy Meal.
Yeah, if you don't want it, I would have eaten this shit. What do you mean that's the breaks? But I was more mad than she was, because I was like, you don't eat at mom and dad. You don't eat. I tell the dog all the time, this is father's food. I like straight up will tell that to the dog, because he'll try to get up and eat my shit. And I'll be like, you don't eat father's food, because I'm father. It's so weird, man. The biting that made me was the fucking shit cherry on top. And even Olive crying, I looked at her, I'm like, I'm sorry. I know today's been a shitty day. Like, even to a 10-year-old, I was like, it has been a shitty day and I'm sorry. And she's like, it has been bad. And I'm like, I know. Like, let's just all go to bed, wake up tomorrow, clean slate it. We'll do it all over again. We don't got to do today again. That's my consolation.
We don't have to do today again. That's for sure. So you talked about the Fitbit not clock. What's that?
Put that on a t-shirt along with the curbside vape delivery. Yeah.
I'm going to, once you get settled again, we're going to start the A is for Alcoholic Teespring page, and it's just going to be lettering of saying random shit like that, I think.
Right.
No, the thing I wanted to say about the Fitbit.
Yeah.
And I don't have a Fitbit, but I would mark my miles on my phone. And there was a period where and this is just to go into my own obsessive compulsive brain and addict and whatnot,
Yes, dude,
is that the thing died, like the app died. So I like wrote the company, like I was like, hey, I'm trying to map my shit, and like, is it my phone? And they never got back to me, obviously, because it's a fucking app, right?
No.
And they're probably fielding, tens of thousands of emails every single day.
Right.
So at one point, it didn't give me what I needed. So once I finished the run, I got home, I got in my car, I opened up the app, and I started it, and I drove the route so that I could know exactly how long I had gone, so that I could reconfigure how many miles I had gone.
Right.
And like, because I was going to be damned if I wasn't going to know that day how many miles.
Right.
And I was like, and now I look back on that and I'm like, that's a bit much, John.
Right.
Like,
dude, that's great though. But that is really clarifying though, because in the sense you said what your obsessive compulsive brain works as, and you didn't get what you wanted. And those were my same problems, was that the obsessive compulsive part of me needs to know that if I'm going to do a 5-mile run, because I run the same route, and I do it like 4 or 5 different ways. So I can tell you what 5 miles is on this route. I just know it because I've done it. But I need to know like where my heart rate is, what my pace was, all this shit, because the obsessive compulsive part of me wants satisfaction. And I did not have the satisfaction, and it like ruined a perfectly good run. Perfectly good run was ruined by me obsessively checking this device. When I could have just left well enough alone, but the obsessive compulsive part of my brain keeps picking at it. Like, you're not going to know whether or not you were in your fitness zones, Jerry. You need to know whether or not you were in your fitness zone,
Were your lactic threshold?
Yeah, exactly. And like, who fucking cares? Just go run, dude. Your heart rate's going to get slower. Like, positive things are going to happen if you keep good form and don't hurt yourself. So just go and run the 5. The 5 miles. You already know what 5 miles looks like, Jerry.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've kind of loosened a little bit on those kinds of, I've loosened on a lot of things, and it's, it's apparent because obviously I've gained weight since.
I can't see it in your face at all. I know
and I appreciate that.
I'm not even complimenting you. Like, I can't see it. So I don't know.
I also haven't shaved in months.
Yeah, you also have a giant beard. Yeah. You just got this Orson Welles in that wine commercial vibe going on. We'll serve no wine before some fucking Orson Welles.
Corbel.
Or
no, it started with an M. It was like Paul Masson. It was Paul Masson. And he's fucking doing this, and the outtakes on that are, I shouldn't be laughing, but like,
it was kind of funny though. I can only laugh because I can relate. How about that? I'm not laughing at him because he's drunk and I'm not. I'm laughing at him because I've been that fucking drunk in clutch moments as well. He's just that's what you got going on right now. Drunk fucking Orson Welles, really. I'm like, you don't look like you've gained weight, Orson Welles. Son of a bitch. I don't see it though, but I mean, I
appreciate that. It's just, I feel it, right? And like, the thing is,
you know what's up with yourself. Yeah.
And that's fine. And the realization I came to was, one, I know how to fix it, and what a relief.
You
do. And two, like, I'm starting to know my body better, in that it doesn't it doesn't collect in one place. Like, it comes, like, I've collected some in my chest, in my stomach, in my thighs, in my, in my gullet here. And like, so all these things, it's just, I'm actually learning something about myself. I'm like, okay, so you know what to do, so just go do it. Now, the whole eating component is another thing. And I've been reading a little bit about, like, intuitive eating. Just because I feel like the calorie counting was a little compulsive.
Somebody was talking about that. Was that you, or was I reading about it on Reddit? Anyway, explain intuitive eating though. Is it complex?
I don't think it's complex. I think so. For me, there has to be a little bit of common sense. It's not just eat all you want, but actually going like, oh man, like when I learned like that binge, how terrible it made me feel. And then going, I don't want to do that again. And then remembering when those feelings of wanting to binge that certain thing at that certain time show up, I can be like, yeah, but it made me feel really bad, so maybe don't do it. And I'm not saying I've learned it all right away, but like there have been moments where now I'm like, oh, so I needed to curb my portion control, or, oh, if I just have this. And basically it's like, have whatever you want, but really be focused on how it makes you feel.
Right. So abstinence is not, especially with food, abstinence obviously isn't the answer, but it's definitely moderate. You have to learn moderation. Son of a bitch, an alcoholic learning moderation.
So that's what I'm working on. I have some of this. There was this super low calorie like ice cream, right? And I was like, oh, I could fuck with some ice cream. And I found it at the little market that I go to, and it's only like 400 calories a pint. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, it's got dairy in it, and I'm trying not to eat that shit, but whatever. And I was like, okay. And there's still a half a pint in the freezer, Jerry. That never happened.
Good. Yeah, usually you just buy 2 pints and eat 2 of them because you're like 400 calories. Fuck, I'll crush both these motherfuckers. Whereas I'm like 400 calories, I'll eat half of it. But that's also our approaches are very different towards those kinds.
And that's what I did. And so, the same thing with like running is I would suggest you go out without the Fitbit one of these days, and the 5 miles and what your heart rate. And so like if you really I'm not saying you have to do it right away, but I mean,
I'll do it in Tucson though. I know there's a trail. My sister, anyway, this is all, but yeah, I'll probably learn the 5 miles in Tucson and do it there. I want to do my last run here with the Fitbit. Maybe I'll do it without. Maybe I'll do my last run here without the Fitbit.
Maybe say goodbye, in whatever fashion.
What? And I'll take my shoes off too, right, John? Just run barefoot on the concrete.
Well, you want to do it on some dewy grass.
I watch these kids all summer run. I'd run by this field by the junior high, and it's this huge field. It's like as long as a football field, and these young kids were always running it with no shoes. They were like U of O runners or something, and I always wondered what was up with that. I should have done it. Now I have no opportunity because I'm going to be in Arizona. In Arizona, there's not much dewy grass. Not much. Not any. I'll just be in a graveyard, just in a cemetery, running with no shoes. Just
why not?
Yeah, that man died in 1885. But yeah, so you know what? Though I want to circle back to the moderation thing. Is like I want to make it clear to people listening too is that you can moderate with food because you have to. You need food to live. But I honestly, in my opinion, I cannot moderate with alcohol. And I don't need alcohol to live. So I just want to make that clear. I know when I bring about moderation, I bring it up. I have to just come back and circle back and be like, in my opinion, for me personally, drinking in moderation was not an option. I had tried it and failed it spectacularly.
Yes. And, like you said at the top of the hour, it's the binary. It's the only binary thing in your life.
It's the only one I can do. I'm either drinking or not drinking. That's my only other binary, that I can think of. I'm either in a state of not being impaired or I am impaired even. Because, I never fucked with pills. I never fucked with drugs really too much. I mean, I had a little stint with pills when I had to go sober from alcohol because of an injury. But no, man, I'm either drinking or not. It's the only binary I can think of.
That was caused by alcoholic behavior, the injury.
I got so drunk I broke my leg, right? Yeah.
So again, about the perils of this time and the problems that come up, and I think it's important too, and I've learned this over my period about working in a restaurant and being around food and people who are cooking and other people who are cooking other foods, and I'm not in control of all the cooking. Like, always ask what's in the fucking dish.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Always ask what's in the eggnog. Like, if you really don't want to drink tonight and somebody's making eggnog in your house or you're at a function, like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not judging anybody. Like, just if you don't want to drink and you're not sure what's in the drink, ask. Hey, I
am going to judge you for going to a function. Don't go to a function, ding dong. You got every fucking excuse in the world to not go now. If you're like, ooh, right? I can't go to my real estate work party because they're all going to be drinking. What am I going to say? Say, I don't want Corona. Sorry. Later.
There you go.
Fucking doorbell. Don't go anywhere. Other than that, if you're at home in your little bubble and dad's making eggnog, and what do you even put in eggnog? Rum?
You rum, whiskey, brandy.
Yeah, be like, I ain't drinking that. You can lie. Well, I guess you can't lie to your own family because they know you. But you can lie to strangers. You can be like, hey, is there booze in this? Yeah. Why, you don't drink booze? I'm like, no. There's just I get anaphylaxis when I drink booze. Like, flat out lie. Be like, I'll die if I drink this booze. Like, you'll have to EpiPen me in the throat, specifically in my throat. It'll be gross, and I'll vomit everywhere.
I'm gonna need you to do the Pulp Fiction on me if I drink this.
I'm so allergic to any type of alcohol that I flat out will just fucking die right here. So you got to let me know. You just lie. Fuck it. If you listen to this podcast because you're an alcoholic, you've already lied about a bunch of other shit. That's what I think. I mean, maybe not, but I lied about a ton of shit. Yeah, probably.
You've probably lied about something.
I've lied about everything. Oh my God, I've told whole fucking goddamn myths, especially when I was a young person,
Yes.
So
I think that this is going to be a really different and difficult Christmas. I mean, I know that by the time you're listening to this, Jerry will be on his way to Arizona, and I don't know when the next podcast will come out or how we'll figure it out. But Christmas is going to be fucking weird this year for a lot of people, and
it will be.
I think also not just say the setting the boundary with other people, but really, if you're by yourself, it's easy to have no boundaries. It's easy to have no accountability. It's easy to do nothing. So I think too, if you're like, hey man, I don't really want to drink this year, and we've said this before, and you'll read it in all kinds of places, but it really makes a lot of sense to find somebody else who doesn't want to do it either.
Right.
And say what you will about these social media challenges and sober October and dry January and fucking, whatever else. But if there's some level of accountability and maybe you just don't want to drink for that weekend or that day, that's fine, man. There's something to be said that these challenges don't lead to long-term success, but fuck it. Okay, maybe you don't want long-term success. Maybe you're just looking to get the holidays.
Right.
So, I mean, finding somebody who is accountable. And, Jerry and I have always said this. If you want to reach out to either of us, you are, please, I do my best to respond as soon as I can. I know Jerry does too.
I try.
So if you're like, hey, man, it's fucking Christmas, I don't want to drink. Well, I'm not drinking either. And okay, well, what are you going to do instead? I don't fucking know. Get some construction paper and make I don't know. Right. I'm just saying.
Order a fucking pizza or something. Do something. Do anything. Play Cyberpunk. I want to play Cyberpunk so bad, but I'm going to wait. But you know what I mean? Do anything. Masturbate 12 times if you have to.
Hurt yourself with that, anything.
Hurt yourself with it. Yeah. Hit us up, but don't hit us up when you're masturbating. That's gross.
I'm interested.
I also want to say, I know we don't have a double back to the sober October thing. I used to have an issue with it, and then I've been thinking about it lately, and I believe you're absolutely right, and I think I've said that before, that if it leads to something, it's great. If you get just a taste, a little Lindor's truffle of sobriety, that's great. I cannot be the gatekeeper of sobriety. I tried it and not good at it. I can't be like I'm for real sober, because I'm not for real sober. I'm just Jerry. I'm just living one day at a time, homie. And if your one day at a time lasts the whole month of November, well then cool. Maybe it'll lead to something better. Or, I don't know. Maybe it won't. And that's all up to you. But you don't have to drink. I know we always say that, but you don't have to drink. You don't have to. That's me being serious. That's my Dr. Drew voice.
I think too, if you're feeling isolated and alone, which I think is probably more going to happen this year.
Great drink for drinking.
I would only suggest and encourage that if you have a moment where you're like, hey, I should really reach out and call that friend or that family member, just fucking do it right then and there. And honestly, I bet, your mom would rather hear from you at 3:00 in the morning than for you to be blackout drunk for the next week.
Call your one AA friend. You got one. You got one AA acquaintance. I'm telling you right now, if you call that one AA acquaintance and be like, I'm thinking about drinking, I don't want to drink, they'll most likely be fucking stoked.
Right.
Like your one recovery, they don't even have to be an NA. Just your one recovery acquaintance, you've got one. Call them and be like, I don't want to drink this year, or I'm thinking about drinking now and I'm trying really hard not to. They'll be pretty fucking stoked to talk to you. They'll be like, yeah, most of the time. Also, if they're not, hit me up. I'm at Jerry Wagner Jr. on Instagram. Send me a message. I'll talk to you. I'll be like, yo, I'm not drinking. And I'm fucking traveling home. I'm moving during a pandemic. I also want to clear that up before we go too. I am moving into a house in pandemic with the entire house has already had coronavirus. Everybody's already had it, so they have that short-term immunity going on. So I'm not spreading COVID to anyone, and in all likelihood, no one will spread COVID to me in that household. That's it. I just want to make sure that I'm over here calling people ding dongs, and I'm like, yo, what are you fucking moving? That's stupid.
Right.
But
You're moving out of necessity. This is not
I'm
a
also
this is
moving
not
out
a
of necessity.
vacation.
Yeah,
This is
to a,
yeah.
I'm helping out. Yeah, everybody has.
You're
The people who
traveling.
have had COVID in our lives have lasting effects from it, and we're helping them, and we're helping ourselves. And there's a bunch of other reasons too. But
I'm traveling pants.
that being said, yeah, we're traveling pants. Is that what you said?
Or this is it the sisterhood of the traveling
Yeah,
pants?
yeah, we're traveling our pants. We're the sisterhood of traveling pants. I'm helping
Um,
you. You're helping me. How did those one pair of pants fit those five different girls? They all had different body types. Doesn't make sense.
I mean, jeans kind of loosen up after you wear them a couple times, so it's like not
Yeah,
fresh
but
out.
your jeans wouldn't fit me though. My jeans wouldn't fit you.
Probably not. No, they certainly wouldn't.
No.
I don't know, man. Well, that's why we wouldn't be in that sisterhood.
Yeah. We'd be the bro hood of traveling
Um,
Carhartts.
Another thing,
Yeah.
Zoom meetings are fucking worldwide, international
Yeah,
now. They're
dude,
happening all the time.
All the time, yeah.
So hit up a Zoom meeting in the middle of the night. Listen to some speaker meetings on YouTube. I mean, if you want, you can go back through our catalog. I don't know. I mean, it's all, some of it's topical, a lot of it's not,
Yeah.
whatever.
I was gonna say, listen to a podcast. Reach out. Listen. If you can't reach out, listen to a podcast. Listen. You don't have to listen to us, but we'd like you to listen to us. But you don't have to though. You can listen to anybody.
Anybody.
Do speaker meetings, Zoom meetings. There's someone out there. There's always someone out there cheering for you and who has your back. There is. You may think there's not, but there is. Believe me.
Do push-ups. That's what I would suggest.
Do push-ups. That's what John's been doing. Dips outside. Fucking.
Where's that? I got a video. I was doing some
John's
dips on a
fucking
log.
TikTok your TikTok is a mess, dude. I just don't even know. Like, I don't know if it seems, I know it's self-aware. Like, I know you know what you're doing, but it seems like you're this not
Chaotic.
aware dude in his 40s just being like, here's some dad jokes, and now here's me working out in the street. But I get the joke. Like, I'm like, I know what he's doing.
Like, it's performance art, Jerry.
Yes. But then there's some 14-year-old who's like, this is Paul Bunyan looking motherfucker doing dips in front of a fucking Chex Cash place.
It's interesting that you say that. I'm self-aware, but it appears as if it's chaotic, which
Yes. I mean, I haven't done a TikTok in so long. Mine was just to promote T-shirts. Yours is
Right.
like, what did the handkerchief say to the fucking little boogie or some shit? And you're like,
Yeah.
get it? All you do is a womp womp sound in the background. I'm like, what the fuck is John doing?
it's the joke is how do you get a Kleenex to dance?
You do it,
Put a little boogie in it.
and then you go. You do this like smirk, like this,
Right, like it's terrible. Well, yeah, because I can't like pretend like it's actually funny. Like that's what sells the bit is that I'm disgusted with myself by how bad
It's
the joke
funny,
is. It's not
but
bad,
it's also
right?
like funny because I know you. Because I'm like,
Right.
what is he doing?
But so I did just put this one TikTok up that got like 15,000 views, like 16.
No way, really? That's great.
It was
dude.
well, it has nothing to do with me. It was this dude.
Oh.
I know, right? It
Well,
was
never
not.
mind.
It wasn't
I thought
me
maybe
working out.
original content was getting love.
No, I did a little stitch with Adam Ragusia. He's a YouTube cooking guy, and he was talking
Yeah.
about the difference between apple juice and apple cider. And then I stitched it with Ned Flanders going, "If it's clear and yellow, you got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town." And it fucking blew up. I mean, for me, it's got like 16,000 views now.
That's great, though.
People are like sending me like it's just. But it just
That's
you know.
hilarious.
So yeah, my TikTok's a mess, but it's just mostly it's like it's fun. So here's another thing that I
You're
would
having
suggest.
a good time. So if
is
you want
that-
to drink, go watch John's TikTok.
Well, or make your own. Yes, you can find Sonic John 000. That's where everything is. But if you want, you're welcome to. But yes, it is a bit of a mess. There's like weird, fucked up like poetry that I've put in the middle of it. Like scraps of poems I'll find, and I'm
But
like,
it's your social media. It's not like you're trying to sell anything. You're just being John.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. I mean, it wasn't, obviously, it's not a criticism. It's more of an observation. I'm like, what a mess, but it's a hilarious mess.
I understand. I'm well aware.
And it's just you just expressing yourself in a new.
Right.
We're allowed to use it. We're like Gen X TikTok. I'm just going way offline here, but have you been on Gen X TikTok? It's fucking hilarious.
There's
Generation X TikTok is pretty funny because some of us in our generation are dummies, and some of us are really funny. Just like any generation.
But I just think that you should do something. You can. I suggest
I strongly suggest that you do something stupid and silly and creative instead of drinking. And whether that's like dancing to a TikTok thing, who the fuck cares? Because honestly, nobody's watching my shit.
Yeah, look at it.
So
Nobody
it doesn't
is.
matter.
Mine
That's-
either. Maybe
that's
I
when
will
I
do
got
that.
over renegade. But you know what I mean? So it's like, that's when I got over it. And I've heard people say like, yeah, I don't know, man. I just kind of lurk on there. I don't really have anything. I don't want to put anything. And then I'm just like, well, instead of drinking, do something stupid and silly, right? Do something that you're like, you know, I think in my drinking days, I was always so cynical and like judgmental and like,
Oh
mean,
yeah, of course we were.
You
We're
know,
the
about
coolest
like,
guys
fuck
in the
that.
back of the classroom. Yeah.
You know, oh, that's stupid. What's your deal? You know, like, and now I'm just like, I don't fucking care. You saw that the video. I found a swing, Jerry, and I was like, I'm gonna just swing here for a minute, and I just like, I was just out there swinging, and I was like, I'm gonna make a TikTok of me swinging, and
Cut
whatever.
to you getting arrested for being in a playground.
Being on a playground. There was nobody there. I literally was the only one. There was like no one around.
Hey man, I know it sounds corny and I know it sounds new agey, but the world is full of fucking wonder. It's still there. It really is. Lots of wild shit's happening.
So that would be my strongest suggestion, is to do something silly and just enjoy yourself and not feel the need to drink this Christmas, because it's going to be shoved down our throats literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing lots and lots of advertisement. I can't get away from it. Fucking Hangar One vodka and Oyster Bay. It's funny. So Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc keeps popping up, and I don't know
on what.
Just on Instagram and on Facebook for me.
I'm not getting any booze stuff.
Well,
on Instagram,
I don't know. But here's the thing. Like, I don't know why, but also it's funny that was, I have very specific drunk memories from that particular wine because it was on sale at the grocery
Oyster
store.
Bay?
Yeah. By my house. And so I don't like get triggered, but it brings up these really kind of, I guess, bad memories where I would go and buy 2 bottles of it because it was like $9 a piece, and I couldn't wait to get home and like pour myself a big pint of fucking white wine.
Yeah, dude, a pint glass of white wine.
Yeah.
It's because there was a microchip in the wine, dude.
You think?
They're tracking you.
So
You better write it on your phone that they're tracking you. That also has a microchip in it.
I'll put it in my notes app. But yeah, man. So that's, you know, so anyhow, that aside, find something that you enjoy doing that's silly and stupid and or whatever it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe go for a walk. But in those moments of, God, I really need a fucking drink. Remember that it's not the drink that we need as alcoholics. It's the relief. And it can and it does exist in other things.
It absolutely does. Absolutely. We're the living testament, praise Jesus.
So, Merry Christmas, Jerry.
Merry Christmas, Matt. Hopefully we'll be doing one in the next 2 weeks. As soon as we'll talk about this off the pod, but yeah.
And Merry
You'll be
Christmas to
hearing our
everyone.
voices again.
Yes.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody, and yo, man, everybody stay safe and healthy.
Take care of yourself and ask about the
Take care of
eggnog.
yourself. Ask what's in the eggnog.
Yes.
Give it a sniff. Don't eat them vodka blueberries, dude. Don't feed them to the dog.
No. All right, Jerry. Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.